courses. So without further ado, what I'll do is I'll hand over to Sean Hanna now, and he will start covering off the start of the presentation. Okay.
Okay, you should have my slides on the screen, Gavin. Is that okay?
Yeah, you can see them.
Brilliant.
Perfect.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the handover, Gavin, and thanks for the introduction. As Gavin said, my name is Sean Hanna. I'm a GRC and cybersecurity consultant working out of Ireland in usually the EMA market. I've been working with the guys. I know the guys have recently launched their operation in Canada, but I have been working with them for the last 8 years in the Dublin, UK, and European market. And today, it's really one of my favorite topics I want to talk about. It's CISA. I'm a huge CISA fan, a disciple, you could almost say. I've sat in the CISA board. I'm an ex-academic director, and I currently sit in the board of CISA Ireland. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to take a little look at the CISM and CISA in particular, but we will briefly a computer security consultant. I specialize in governance and governance activities. And I've been working with some multinational organizations in the European market since the early 1990s. I'm an ex-employee. BT is one of the world's largest telecoms. And I'm an ex-senior security consultant with them. I now run my own information security business called Nemstar. And we work with organizations in the European market mainly and help them drive value out of information security investments. Okay, it's a little bit about myself. Let's get a start done tonight. This little session, well, it's tonight over here in Ireland at the moment. Tonight's little session will take about 20 to 30 minutes. I want to take a look specifically at CISA. I want to take a little look at 2 of CISA accreditations. In case you don't know about CISA, let me do a little bit of background. CISA is a little bit different. We have many organizations throwing their hat into the information security field these days, and there's a plethora of choices in certifications and training courses. Now, if you go a lot across and you look at your EC councils, your Microsoft, your Cisco accreditations, there's a huge number of technical accreditations, from pen testing through incident handling into things like disaster recovery and forensics. CISA is a little bit different. We are not a technically focused organization. CISA is very much a business-focused organization. We're going to take information systems and information and IT systems and governance. We're going to look at the security of it, but very much from a business perspective. We're all about enabling a business to win, to survive, to succeed, to thrive. What we don't want to happen is we don't want the business to be restricted and prevented from succeeding. We find in a lot of organizations, when you give an IT department budget to spend on security and assurance, but they tend to spend that budget on restrictive technical controls. And sometimes that's the right answer, but a lot of the times that's the wrong answer. So CISA is very much a business-focused organization. We have our roots in finance and audit. That's our background. We don't come from a technical background. We come very much from a hardcore finance and business background. The CISA certifications are recognized as global leading certifications in business management of information systems and information. We offer 4 certifications. And the 4 certifications inside CISA take you from the very senior executive level CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, and Chief Information level, right down through the head of IT or information system function, in through assurance professionals, the auditors, and right down to the ITIS risk specialist. So you can see this is very much an antidote to the Microsoft, the Cisco, the EC Council training. This is not ethical hacking or pen testing or web development. This is about business management. It's about building tomorrow's future leaders of information and IT systems. And to be a manager requires a different skill set than to be a technologist. So we're very much about building out your leadership qualities, your assurance, your finance, your statistical and risk capabilities. So it is a different. One of the things we want to talk about tonight is CISM. CISM is our Certified Information Security Manager. Information Security Manager, the head of function role. We call this our tactical role. The role of a manager within CISA is to take the work of the board, the strategic direction of the board, and to create an implementation plan. So the CISM, inside CISA's viewpoint, we work directly across the business with executive management. We help executive management build their strategy, formulate their plans, and create their roadmaps. And then we are responsible and accountable for taking that strategy that we help build and delivering it tactically on the ground. We're about implementing, managing, providing value-based risk frameworks, about allowing the business to succeed and to measuring our success. So CISM is number one, a management function. The other one we're here to talk about tonight is our assurance function. In a governance-led business, we'll talk a little bit about governance in a few slides' time. In a governance-led business, the senior team, they set the strategic direction, and then they give the implementation of that strategy. They have to trust the tactical manager to deliver. That's where assurance comes in. Assurance provides the measurement and evidence, the statistical control of whether or not we're going to achieve that strategy. See, there's a lot of trust from senior management in their technical management function. They're going to give their precious strategy to the tactical managers to deliver. And to make sure those tactical managers will succeed, we have the audit function. It provides them assurance, confidence that come the end of the year, the business will meet its strategic objectives. And of course, the strategic objectives of the business is normally to make a profit. So this is very much profit and business driven. Now, we do offer other certifications and accreditations inside CISA. Two that I want to concentrate on, because you see, they're not that different. They're two sides of the one coin, if you like. CISM is your head of the manager. He implements and manages the senior team's strategy. CISA is the auditor. They're the eyes and the ears of the senior team. They understand the strategy and they go in and make sure that the CISM is delivering the strategy the board has set. So we get CISM, implement, CISA, measure. You see, you could almost say the success of a CISM is dependent on the auditor. The auditor measures how successful the CISM has actually been. So the two of these are an interdependent function. They rely on each other to succeed. CISM and CISA. We do also offer the CISO level strategic role. So if your career progresses and you want to move right up into the senior echelons of business, if you want to move into the executive level, C-suite, whatever name you have for them, we've got CISA. CISA is one of the world's leading CISO accreditations. And that's all about governance. That's about how do you set the mission, the vision, and the strategy of the business. We also have a hands-on practical accreditation. That's CRISC. CRISC is our risk. Everything that we're going to do within ISACA is going to be based on the fundamental principles of risk management and value. Risk management and value for money. And that's what the risk specialist does. They measure the threats, the impacts, the likelihoods, and they try to measure the value that the controls deliver to the business. So you see, we're very much finance and business focused. If the IT department wants an upgrade firewall, then we're expected to be able to prove in a business case that that firewall expenditure is value for money and will have a positive impact on the business. And that's what CRISC does. So it's a four-part team that allows us to deliver in a small, medium, large, or even multinational organization. It allows us to control and to manage information systems and IT risks and make sure that our investment and expenditure meets the strategic objectives of the business. And that's what we're all about, meeting the strategic objectives of the business. It doesn't really sound like most other security and cyber courses you do. It really is a little bit different. So what do all of these courses have in common? Share in common because they share more in common than makes them different. So they're both based on COBIT. COBIT is the model for managing control objectives of IT. COBIT is a governance model widely used in the Fortune 500 biggest companies in the world. A vast majority of them would use a COBIT-based governance model for IT, for information systems and risk. COBIT is supported by virtually every regulatory body and financial body in the world. No matter where we go, whether you be in the UK or Canada or Brazil or Japan, what we'll find is if we based our IT and security strategy on COBIT, we're normally within regulation, within regulatory control, within those environments. COBIT is a governance model. Governance is all about creating business strategy that's implemented to provide value for money from IT and information within your business. So governance is about the senior team deciding what will this business do with IT? How do we want to use IT? What risks are we willing to take to be able to enable IT to make a profit? We look at risk. If you want to use a computer system, you must be willing to accept some risk. The single positive thing that the business does has a risk associated. We need to make sure that the risks of IT and IT systems are managed effectively. We've all seen that some organisations in the UK recently, the health organisations, the UK Health Service, got impacted significantly by the global phenomenon that was WannaCry recently. To me, the reason why WannaCry virus impacted over 250,000 systems worldwide was a lack of risk management. You see, risk management is about understanding that IT can have a positive benefit, but it can also have a negative impact. Risk is about balancing the positive and negative together. And of course, we all have compliance. Compliance with the law. Governments and regulatory bodies create rules that we must be compliant with. You need some sort of framework within your business to make sure you remain legal, to make sure you remain compliant. Those three things, G, R, C, governance, risk, and compliance. This is what CISA is all about. Making sure that our IT systems and our information within the business has a governance framework, is risk managed, and is compliant with the law. You drill in to what your board, your senior executive team really want. That's what they want. Governance is the business saying, this is what we're going to do with IT. Risk is saying, let's make sure we don't spend too much money. Let's make sure we don't spend too little money. And compliance is, well, look, we got to make sure we're compliant with the local laws and local regulations. GRC is what it's all. Compliance, laws and regulations, due care and due diligence. Governance is all about strategy and direction. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And risk is value versus benefit. So you can see GRC, it's much more than simply 3 letters. It's a way to run a business. IT and security have always thought they're a little bit different. I remember seeing the sign over an IT person's desk one time doing an audit that said, I dress like this because I'm the only person who knows how it works. To me, that IT poster is everything that's wrong with IT today. Because you see, IT shouldn't be different. It shouldn't be unique. IT is just another business service. IT should look more like marketing or finance than an IT company. Because all IT is there to do is whatever the business needs it to do. So this is GRC, a way of managing a business. I call it the Harvard MBA model. So if you went to Harvard Business School and you studied an MBA, what you really studied during your Masters of Business, you're studying GRC. And this is GRC applied to IT, information, and security. GRC is what you're responsible for. Senior managers, they decide what they're going to do with IT, the strategy and the direction they're going to take, and they need help. They need support. Senior managers don't understand the capabilities of IT. Senior managers may not understand the technical risks of IT. But at the same time, senior managers don't need to be technical. They need help and support in making those decisions. That's what CISM and CISA is there to do. So if your career has been technical for the last 10 or 15 years of your life, I know mine's has been. I started off as a DOS engineer, worked my way through Windows, Active Directory and Exchange, implementing and designing and architecting large-scale systems across Europe. I did that for a good 20 years of my career. I was Mr. Technical. But in the last 14 years, my career has completely changed because I've left those technical skills behind and I've become much more managerial and business focused. And that's where CISM and CISA come in. They're your stepping stones that are built on your technical background and your prior experience, and it's you leaving those skills behind and really engaging with the business as a senior leader, as a senior. Information security, GRC, we're not just another technical security. We're very far from it. I do believe that in my CISA and CISM courses, more like an MBA than a Microsoft. I do believe, and we've done this for the last 14 years, we've helped individuals build their career from their technical roots into management and governance. That's what it's all about inside. We work across the business with the senior leadership team. So this is your chance to interact with the people who make good decisions, to help shape the business, to help your business drive max information, minimize the security risks. Everything we do, we put the senior management team in the center. Senior executive strategic. Basic model. It's a model you've probably come across before. We use PSGP. We use policy, standard, guideline, and procedure. This is the COBIT model. You see, excuse me, you see, the senior team, they set the direction. We get them to create policy. Policies are statements of intent. They're high-level, overarching documents. Give the business an idea of the strategic direction. Now, of course, senior managers are responsible and accountable for policy, but they do need help developing it. And that's for the CISM and the CISA. We help the senior managers decide on the policies, the strategic direction our business will take. We then take those policies and we turn them into measurable standards. Standards are things that we can measure ourselves against. And standards they're a little bit cold. They're a little bit dry. They're not very fluffy and friendly. They're a little bit hard to understand. So we convert these standards into guidelines. Guidelines are soft and fluffy documents that describe to people in plain English what the standards actually mean. And of course, when it comes to the step-by-step implementation guide, well, that's really over to the IT department or the IT security team. The procedures are the step-by-step instructions on how to meet the policy, standard, and guideline requirements. So this is COBIT you're really looking at. It's how COBIT works. It's how most security standards and frameworks. We could apply this model to ISO 27000, or you could apply it to NIST from America, or you could apply it to the AS and NZ standards in Australia and New Zealand. This is also the model that's adopted by virtually every single regulatory body in the world. Should you work for a bank, a nuclear agency, a law enforcement, or a military, we're all based on the idea of PSGP. Policy, what we're going to do. Standards, the things we have to do. Guidelines, how we're going to do it. And procedures are the step-by-step instructions. It's a very mature and professional way to go about building IT and information systems. So let's translate this a little, do a little bit more of a deep dive. See, we sit in between the senior management and IT. IT are technical people. We need them. We rely on them. The IT department provides our technical expertise. But just because somebody is technical does not mean that they understand the business. It does not mean that they understand strategic objectives, or it can do risk management or business cases. That's where we fit in. In the CISA model, the information assurance team or the information security team, we sit in the middle between the business and IT. And you see, the business, they come up with the idea. The business comes up with a strategy. We take that strategy, we create an architecture, a way to take that strategy and implement it. Remember that word tactical? That's really what tactical is about. Taking a strategy and designing how we're going to implement it in real life. The IT department, we're not here to replace IT. The IT department is an essential requirement. We need people with deep technical skills. And those deep technical skills, they should end up in an IT department. We don't want two IT teams. We don't really usually want deep technical skills in an information assurance team. We will need some technical skills, some very specific skills, but we shouldn't have two teams that configure firewalls. We shouldn't have two teams that configure switches. We shouldn't have two teams that configure web servers. We shouldn't have a team that configures a web server and a team that configures a web server security. We shouldn't have a team that configures switches and a team that configures switches securely. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to have two technical teams? So we're very much not about taking the wind out of IT sales. We're not there about replacing IT. We're there to help and support IT. We, like the business, depend on IT to provide those deep technical skills. You see, what we really do, orange across the top, this is your CISM. This is your manager's role. We take the strategy, really the policy. We translate that into standards and guidelines, which are our designs, our architecture, our security infrastructure, our security architecture. We convert those into procedures within the IT department. So the orange arrow, the left to right. And if we're going to do that, senior managers are going to trust us to deliver tactically their strategy. Well, they're going to have to keep an eye on us. After all, they're the ones that are accountable. We are merely responsible. So across the bottom, to make sure at all times the senior team takes control, has ownership, and can get great visibility in what's actually happening, we get audit going across the bottom as the blue arrows from right to left. So what we do in audit, what the CISA, we go into delivery and we look at key goal indicators, key performance indicators, key risk indicators. We do audits and tests, vulnerability scans and pen tests. We take all of those in through the design and we create critical success factors and dashboards. Dashboards are management information reports. You're a board member, then in front of you sits a dashboard. Dashboard measures the success of your strategy. If all the board members have dashboards that are healthy, the business is succeeding. The business is on goal to make their profit target this year. Dashboards are a critical function of the senior management team. And of course, what the senior management really want is strategic. See, look at that model. This is what IT is. CISA. We're not here about configuring firewalls or looking at hacking risks. We're here to make sure that business makes money. Business is profitable. And think about it. How many organizations have you read about in the news in the last 6 months that have lost millions of pounds because of cyber risk, because of information failure? This weekend in the UK, we had one of the world's major airline carriers, one of the premier airlines in the world, British Airways. British Airways lost their entire IT system for nearly 3 days. 3 days. It grounded hundreds and thousands of people globally. It grounded their entire fleet. Do you know how much it cost them already? We already have seen their share price drop by £360 million sterling. We have a 360 million wiped off the share price BA in 5 days. Why did they lose £1/3 of £1 billion in 5 days? Because the board did not retain control of the strategy. The strategy was not properly implemented. The risks were not properly contained and measured and mitigated. To me, if I wanted to go into British Airways, I'd be going in and trying to say, guys, you need COVID. You need to retain control of IT, because IT, one, it can make you lots of money if it works correctly. But two, you're absolutely screwed if it doesn't work correctly. And that's what ISAC is all about. The most fundamental, basic principle. We want the business to make profit from the investment that they've made in information systems. And that means managing risks, managing the risks of system failure, of outage, of hacks, of compromises, of data leaks, of intellectual property theft. This is what ISAC is all about. So, what else do they share? Well, they do share really rather a lot. So the 3 domains of knowledge that we're going to cover, and this is my little Venn diagram. When's the last time you've seen a Venn diagram? We do like our statistical diagram. The idea is that the number one topic is not technology or information security. The number one topic is business. The number 2 topic, well, it's shared. We have to know and understand technology, and we have to know and understand information security because it's such a big risk. These are the 3 domains of knowledge on both the CISA and the CISM. Business is all about strategies and business plans and gap analysis. And this is the course that tells you how to write a business plan, what a capability maturity model does for a company, the difference between a balanced scorecard and a strategic performance review. All about project management, risk management, and assurance process. We also have to understand technology. Don't forget, it's IT, IS, it's IT and information systems. So we have to know our cloud computing models, the difference between software as a service and platform as a service. We have to know about system development processes, like the difference between Agile and DevSec, the difference between prototyping and RAD. We have a lot of detailed technology topics to cover as well. And don't forget, we've got information security, and that's all about making sure that we balance the risk of profit and loss, and that's about the security controls. An IPS and an IPS, incident handling and computer security, incident response. You know, a lot of material to pack in to such a intensive course. Right. What we've done so far, we've taken a look at who ISACA are and what we believe in. We've taken a look at the 4 things that we offer, and we've concentrated so far on the similarities. These are 4 accreditations that fit together very much like 4 pieces of one jigsaw. But there are major differences. CISA is all about audit. CISA is the global standard in audit. Actually, in many countries, counts towards modules in your actual chartered audit status. So in the UK, if you were a CISA, that actually helps you achieve your chartered audit status. And that's a very CISA is about audit, so we're going to learn about the audit principles, using a governance model for risk, managing project risk during software development projects and acquisitions. I mean, how much money has your company wasted in the last 10 years on failed IT projects, on failed software development? How many times has your business overspent or overrun on project deadlines in software development and acquisition. See, that's the sort of thing that we think is a major security risk. Security risks are things that cost us money. If we write our code well, we write strong, reliable code with little vulnerability. If we don't do our code development process correctly, we write expensive, restrictive, poor quality code. CISM, on the other hand, is all about management. The CISM is the manager, the head of function, the senior team lead. This is what a CISM is all about. Setting up and running a department, using a governance model and interacting with the board and learning how to use political influence in the board, about project management and project risk, about doing important operational projects like business continuity planning, business impact assessment, disaster recovery planning. I mean, these are critical things for most organizations. And there couldn't be further away from a firewall and antivirus. The business doesn't really care about firewalls and antivirus. The business is all about profitability, risk, and control and compliance. And that's what a CISM's about. A CISM is a leader, a departmental manager. A CISM is a highly respected business leader, a subject matter expert, somebody who understands the whole business and its goals and objectives. We're able to influence and deliver results. Managing is all about translating business requirements into measurable results while managing risk in a cost. Such a beautiful little statement there across the top, but it is extremely difficult to achieve. CISA was formed in 1969. It's not an IT or security company. We're about business. And it's taken us from 1969 to today. Okay, that's 40 years. And we've been trying to help people achieve that statement. And that's what COBIT is. And that's why we use COBIT throughout this particular. So, we're getting towards the end of this short session when we're looking at CISA. What I've tried to do is to explain to you what each does and how they. Couple final slides. Look, I'm a consultant and I'm not a trainer. Everything that I step into a training room to talk about, to help people with, I do as a business. I do it. Okay? What's a little bit different about Security Brain is we use real consultants with real experience. I teach not from a book. I teach from my experience that I've gained over the last 30 years in IT and security. To give you an example, in the last 24 months, I have worked with and run governance projects for the United Nations, the UK government, the Irish government, the Royal Air Force. We've just finished a huge project with Ryanair, one of Europe's leading airlines. We're currently involved in the Irish Stock Exchange in a large governance and risk project. And I'm also working with RBS, the Royal Bank of Scotland, one of the world's largest financial organizations. So anything that I stand in front of a classroom for, I also deliver consultancy on. And that's what I try to do. I try to teach you from my experiences, what my customers have told me, and the information that they fed back, and from the lessons that I've learned from the scars that I've got over the past 30 years in the field. I didn't want to take too much of your time up. It was a quick, deep dive into information security, into CISA CISM tonight. So at this stage, I'm going to ask if Gavin would like to come back in and take control of the slide deck. And if we have any questions, we can go through them at this stage. If you have any questions, if you watch this at a later date, please, at any stage, email us and we will get back to help you. Gavin, do you have the little closing slides ready there? You're still in mute.
Yep.
There we go, Gavin. Brilliant.
Can we see it now? Excellent. Can we see it now?
Yep, we're online, Gavin. Thank you.
Perfect. So yeah, Sean, that was great. You really went touched over the important things between the CISA and the CISM. Just a couple of like the main thing that comes up every time we do this is that it's really about kind of integrating that business side of things with the technology side. So
it really is, and that's where the opportunity is these days, Gavin. I mean, we have got technical people, we've security people, and we've business people. But do we have the people that bridge that gap? And that's really what this is about, isn't it? Bridging the gap.
Yeah, it was a good point. Like the people that are going to be attaining these certifications, they're going to be able to work with the senior leadership teams across their company to create policies, and which is going to be put the company in a strategic direction. So that's an important point to pick up on.
I've been doing these for the last 8 or 9 years, and to be really honest with you, the reason why I've got some of those blue chip companies as my customers is it's people that I've helped through the CISM and CISA and CIGIT in the past. They're now the CISOs and the leaders in those organizations, and they're the people that are inviting me back in again to help them. So it's, you can really see how people progress after doing courses like this.
Yeah, and okay, so perfect there. So what we have now is a couple of questions that have come in.
Cool.
One is, so I think one person is describing themselves as an IT manager.
Yep.
So for them, they have he says one IT manager and then a couple of system engineers. So how would that person is going to need elements of the CISA and the CISM as part of their. So like how would you direct them?
Well, if they're IT at the moment, it depends how much security knowledge they have. If they really are IT and not security, CISP is the way into security. So if you're starting off from the ground level, there's no point looking at CISM and CISA yet. The one that gets you started is CISP. That gives you the language and the skills to look at information security and risk and to understand the controls. It's the most technical out of the three, and it's a great way for an IT manager to really get to grips with security and risk. If the IT manager has already got skills in those areas, well then definitely it would be CISM. CISM would be the one that allows them to go up to the board level, to start interacting with the business owners and the business leaders, to talk their language, and to really try to start creating a strategy that the business can move forward with. So again, for an IT manager, CISM is really the next step into executive and senior management. It's the thing that's going to help them onto the next stage in their career.
Okay, I think that answers that perfectly. And I think you answered one of the next questions that we had here. Someone put in just about the technical requirement and the skill set for each track. So I think you answered it there a small bit in the way that the CISM is really more of the specialized skill. More so for the management and the program side of things.
If you're worried that you don't know enough about information security, Well, then that is CISP. CISP is an awesome course. It's incredibly intensive. It's globally recognized. It's a real challenge. But what you're trying to do is in one short, intensive burst is to cover every single conceivable possible technical security control. And by technical security control, that would be an incredibly big feat. But CISP not only does technical, we also do administrative security controls, and on top of that, we do physical security controls. So CISP is technical controls, physical controls, and administrative controls. If you're thinking to yourself, you know, CISM sounds great or CISA sounds great, but I'm not sure if I have the right background, CISP is the course that gives you your background. That is definitely the one to kick off with.
Okay, so I think we had 2 more questions, and I think your answer there might have covered them as well. But I'll just shout out the questions now. So, one of our attendees, I'm relatively new to IT, 2 years experience. So what would be the sort of background of experience before taking the CISA or the CISM? They have the Comp Security Plus coming up. Following that, then, which direction would you aim for?
Okay. Well, look, CISM and CISA, because of their level, we really insist on 5 years industry experience. So because these really are, senior into executive level roles, no matter how much your academic background or your educational background is, you need the experience. So if you're going in with that 2 or 3 years experience, not a single shadow of a doubt, CISP has to be your first port of call. I always try to be honest, Kevin. Sometimes people don't like me for being honest. But you know what? I'm not a big fan of the Security Plus accreditation. Security Plus is brilliant if you want to remain technical for the rest of your life. If you're happy configuring antivirus and firewalls, definitely Security Plus is for you. If your career lies outside of that into greater things, I would thoroughly recommend CISP any day over Security Plus. You don't need to do your Security Plus to do CISP. I think CISP would be a great substitute.
Okay, great. So there is that key difference between the kind of technical side.
Security Plus is very, very technical. CISP is starting to get you out of that, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've kind of covered off the remaining questions there. So I'll just, if we're on the slide there, you can see this. So some of the dates that we have coming up. So we have the CISP, the 4-day course, the CISM on July 10th, 3-day course, and the CISA on the 17th July, another 3-day course. So you can see we have some promotions for early booking. So if anyone on the webinar is thinking of booking soon, these are the dates that you can book by to avail of some discounts. So that there, we'll post this online as well afterwards, so you have these numbers available. So I guess that's it. We've kind of covered off everything. I appreciate your time, Sean. That was
no problem, Gavin.
A great dive into the comparison between the 2 tracks. So thank you everyone for jumping on board today. And if you have any more questions or need to read any more details about the upcoming courses, you can visit cybersecuritybrain.ca and go to the courses tab, and they're all there with all the information, the FAQs. So I think that's it for today.
No problem, Gavin. Thank you very much for hosting that.
Perfect. And yeah, we'll end the call now. Thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Cheers, man. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.